A win's a win. What's the mood and the vibe like after picking up a victory?
It's good. Look at, our kids watching the film, yesterday and going in evaluation. We still know that there's some things that we have to work on, across the board, offense, defense, special teams, and just cleaning those things up. But, it always feels better, after, especially coming here talking with you guys, it feels better, after that W. And, hats off to Lincoln. I thought they really came in here and played hard. They really did. They did some good things, offensively and defensively. They just don't have the manpower right now to really do the things they need to in this conference. Great coach. And their kids, they work hard and do the things they're asked to do. But just when you don't have the depth, like we do, it's hard to do those things. But I'm proud of our kids. I think they handled themselves well through the week. They practiced hard. They watched a lot of film. They put the time and effort in to be successful, on Saturday, and I think that showed.
Did you see a big difference? I know last week you talked a lot about, everybody's got to take full reps and they got to get in the film room. Did you see that difference in practice?
Yeah, we did. We had a good talk about, being part of the solution and not part of the problem. And our kids really took that to heart, and they were part of the solution this week. They did the things they needed to do to make sure that they were successful on the football field, whether it was, in the weight room, the classroom, watching the film. They actually really did get together and watch film together, and it's amazing how much, much more they were prepared, for this game by just doing those little things. But they did the things we asked them to do. Now if they keep continuing to build off of that, who knows how far this team could go.
You got the running game going this last week. How important is that to have that balance against opponents?
It's huge. When you're just a passing team or a running team, it's hard to do anything against the defense. Because now you can't keep them off balance, and us being able to add that, to our offense, this last week was huge. You saw some good run game out of Soto, and basically all of our running backs, Soto, Tucker, even seeing Clay Robinson get in there and do some great things. But that run attack is huge, and it just sets up the pass. Makes it more effective. Your pass game more effective, especially when you start doing some play actions and things like that, which we can add to our game now. But I was pleased with it. I still think there's some things we still got to work on, to solidify it and make it better. But that's always coaches, right? It's never good enough for us. We always want things to be better, and hopefully our kids are the same way. They want things to be better, but we got to keep building on what we did last week and make our run game even stronger. So when it gets to a point in a game or a game that we have to win, towards the end of it, where there's like 4 minutes left, that we can actually run out the clock and count on our run game to finish that game off.
You got a lot of faces in on Saturday. Are you able to use that as an evaluation period for some of these guys who don't normally see time?
Yeah, it's huge. Just seeing those kids get in there and perform at a high level, and seeing their excitement and seeing what they can truly do. And because you don't know. Sometimes a kid will get in the game and he'll just lock up and tense up and doesn't play well and doesn't do what he's asked to do. Where there's some kids that maybe might not practice so well, but then all of a sudden you put them in a game situation, they do things that you never thought they could have. And we did see a lot of kids, and it was cool to see some of these young men, that had never scored a touchdown, or you never made a play on defense, make some plays, and just seeing the excitement on their face. Just as a coach, that gives you a lot of satisfaction and a lot of pride, and it makes you happy as well, just to see those kids, how happy they are. And it was huge for us to get those kids in there, but we did get to evaluate some of them, and some of them did really, really well. Some of them still need to work on some things to make themselves better, but that comes with time. But getting that experience as a young player, and as a freshman or a sophomore, is huge, for your future when you become, junior and senior.
How much do you still trust your kicking game right now?
I do. I still believe in it, but it's just that first drive, I was determined as a coach that we were going to score a touchdown or nothing, and that was it. That was my mindset going into that first drive. I didn't want to kick the field goal when it was 4th and 6, but we did. But they were offsides. It hit the upright, and right then there's like, all right, we're going for it. And then we got down on the goal line, another 4th and short situation. I was like, I want to see us make something happen and do something. And but that was my mindset after they jumped off sides, that hey, we're going to go for this. And there's a number of times in that game that we went for it on 4th down, and the other time was, I think it was 4th and 9, and I wanted to see our kids make some plays. It's kind of that range where it's out of field goal range, but you don't want to punt because you're so close, because if you punt and it goes to the end zone, it's a 5-yard gain. So we got to keep doing that, but I have faith in him. Parker did a good job for us, on his kickoffs, and we didn't punt one time, which is huge. And but I still have all the faith in the world, in Fernando, and I know he can get the job done. Just in that game, I was want to do some things and get our kids motivated and see if they can really grit it out and get it done.
Looking ahead to this week's game, what do they do that cause teams problems, and what do you think you need to do?
They play hard. They might not be the biggest group, on across the line, on defense especially, but they play hard and they play fast and they play physical and they play aggressive. They don't do a lot, but they do enough to keep you honest. And offensively, they have some big guys up front. They do. They got a really good quarterback that makes good decisions. They have, a couple good wide receivers and a tight end that are dynamic as well. So, just the things that they do can give you trouble. If you don't study and you don't prepare and do the things you need to in practice this week, it's going to be a real battle. But, heck, they just came off a big win, beating UCO. So we know that they're going to be amped up, ready, and they're feeling good about themselves. And, they do have a good football team. And maybe that win's the win that kind of gets them over the hump and gets them fired up and excited about these upcoming games. But it's going to be tough. It's a long haul down there. It's a travel. We're going to make sure our kids are rested and doing things they need to do to take care of themselves and being ready. But they're a football team that's a good football team, and we got to be ready on offense, defense, and special teams.
They seem to be really opportunistic defensively against UCO. What kind of a challenge is that for Chance and the rest of the offense?
It's just making sure we get our keys. That's the main thing, and seeing their alignments and the things that they're doing, whether they're in a too high coverage or if they're rolling to a cover 3 coverage or if they're bringing pressure. Sometimes I do a good job of disguising those things, but it's just putting that time in the film room of seeing how those guys line up and knowing exactly what's happening before it gets started. And that goes to our guys. We can teach them as much as we can as coaches, in the film room. But, we only have limited time with these guys, day in and day out, where it's them getting together again this week, watching film together again this week, and seeing those coverage changes and the way they line up with their fronts and, when they're twisting and things like that. So a lot goes on the kids, but as much as we can as coaches, we're going to teach them up and get them ready.
With Missouri Southern winning on Saturday, how much easier is it to keep everybody focused on a 1-2 record on the opponent, the same as your guys, as opposed to an 0-3 team that just struggled up until last week?
I think with our kids right now, they know their backs are against the wall, so they know they got to lock in, every game from here on out. I truly believe that they're not going to take anyone lightly, that they're going to prepare and get themselves ready, for every game, whether we're playing Northwest or, one of the lower tier teams in our conference. Our kids are going to be ready because they know we have to win out, but they know it's week to week, and, Missouri Southern is the next one up, and then we have to do what we can to win that ball game. So I don't think there'll be any setback, whether they won or lost. I think our kids would have been locked in, ready to go, and focused, and knowing that we have to win this game as well.
Last weekend games were kind of wild. There were a couple that came down to the final minute, a 2-point conversion that didn't happen outside of your score and the Northwest score. Did this weekend show what this conference is about, that almost on any weekend anybody can step up and win? It
is. How many people would have thought Southern would have beat UCO? That's a perfect example, but you never know. A couple things fall your way and you play hard and do the things your coaches ask you to do. You can win some ball games. The Kearney-Washburn game went down to the wire as well. Washburn was up until the last drive of Kearney, and Kearney scored and they couldn't get back into it. Like you said, the Emporium West game, that's tied up, or do you go for 2? Because when you get to overtime now, you only get after the first overtime, you have to go for 2 anyway. Then after that, it's just 2-point conversions. So, they went for it, and it was by inches, that they didn't get that 2-point conversion. So that's week to week. In this conference, you never know. So you have to prepare, every game, to the best of your ability, and making sure that you're ready and making sure your schemes are good and your kids understand your schemes. And it's stuff your kids can do. You don't want to do things that they're not quite certain about or they don't feel good about. You got to make sure your kids are ready and knowing your kids and knowing what they can do, offensively and defensively.
I'm not asking you to question the Emporia State decision to go for 2, but as a coach, is that a feel moment of whether you go for 2 or go for the tie?
It is. It really is. How do you feel with your kids right now? Do you feel like you can get it as well with what they're doing, defensively? And then it's the same thing. Well, the team will do that to us as well. Say we score first and we kick a field goal, they're going to go for 2. So there's a lot of things that you have to think about as well that go into it. But you just never know. With the way the 2-point thing is now and the overtimes, especially the overtimes, do you almost think about just going for 2 the first time, because eventually it's going to come down to just that one play, and you want it just be a one-play series that gets you beat. So a lot goes into it, but a lot goes into how your kids are feeling, you know, just looking at their emotions on their face and seeing if they're confident or not confident, and that's what you go with.
Talked last week a lot about Chance, the receivers, and just getting that rhythm. I know we only played a half because of the game, but did you feel that was better on Saturday?
I did. You know, I thought it was a lot better. You know, you saw Manny get some reps and some catches. Josh, you know, I think he got targeted maybe once, and that was it. But that's sometimes how the games go. Bucky, I think, had one catch, and he was only targeted twice. And sometimes it just depends on what they give you. You know, Manny had a great game because of what they gave us. And then some young guys got in the game as well. The one pick is, you know, the receiver ran his route the wrong way. If he would have got a little bit flatter like he was taught through the week of practice and ran a little bit harder, that's not a pick and it's a touchdown. So it's still those little things that go hand in hand. You know, hopefully we'll get those guys will practice again this week, and we will get better this week at at our wide receiver position. And it's all the timing. If the timing's off, everything's off. And I thought it was better last week.
Any update on Birchfield and Starks and their probability for Saturday?
Sounds good. It seems as now they're cleared, ready to go. So that's just, you know, some more icing on the cake to see what happens, and hopefully they're ready themselves. And you know, if we feel like they're not quite ready yet, we might just let them get a few reps. But if they're ready to go, we'll play them.